When you think of the English, you think of irreverence.
Goonin', everybody loves their goonin'.
You think of accepting of eccentricities.
When Ubisoft was gay.
Right? You think of their dry sense of humor.
Disgusting juddery.
There is no... If we had to crack down on free speech in any country in the world, the country we'd lose the most in is if we crack down on free speech in England. Because they are great.
A British tar is a soaring soul, as free as a mountain bud.
Kazan the First, Berserker, came out in March of 2025. I've had my eye on it for a while. My name is Couchcoop, by the way. For me, this is kind of the fourth pillar with the Chinese and South Korean third-person ARPG / Souls-like category. We have the delectable Stellar Blade from Shift Up. We have the magical Black Myth Wukong. And also recently featured, we have Wu-Tang Fallen Feathers. First off, we have to look at the game's performance. Really? Can't we just see you killing stuff? We'll get to that in a second. After the Wu-Tang Fallen Feathers incident, with its balance mode being all over the shop and having to sit in performance not out of choice, I was very dubious with just the two options that this game comes with. But it does have a frame cap section, which you can apply to both quality and performance. By the way, that is how you do a boss window. That is beautiful. The skulls are amazing. And it's got the strangest photo mode, which I will talk about at some point. But it has got a photo mode, Wu-Tang Fallen Feathers. The game has got this amazing cel-shaded style, like modern day version of it. It's very crisp. It almost looks like a high-end Netflix animation. I know I've said that before. Set in an almost medieval European landscape, Nosferatu would feel very at home here. It is far from historically grounded. This game goes quite crazy with what it throws at you, NPCs, locations and weaponry. Good God, the weaponry. How much of a Souls-like this is something we're going to discuss during the video. Rock, paper, shotgun, build it as a hack and slash Souls-like, and that is pretty close to the mark. It's the hack and slash stuff that we're going to concentrate on because some of it's absolutely amazing and not really been seen before alongside those Souls elements. And talking of Souls elements, there's no jump whatsoever. This is near the whole way through. Little tracks on the map. A 4-foot step is a wall for you. That's okay. That area is something I'm well familiar with and something I would expect with a game of this genre. But when you hear that term hack and slash, I ought to imagine it's going to be quite aerial. But not with this. This is boots on the ground, swords start a clanging, my God. Okay, let's get back to those graphics modes. I want to show you quality. It is not terrible, it just lacks a little bit of frame consistency. On the pans, not really in the combat, maybe here and there, but it's just something that plays on your mind a bit. You see it here and there and you start thinking, uh-oh, is this going to affect my invincibility windows or my dodging? You kind of want that peace of mind. This isn't a Wu-Tang situation where one of the modes is blatantly broken, however. We have a dodge on X and a block on L1. By the way, this is base level PlayStation 5 and I did default to that performance mode with the frame cap on, smooth as hell. Some performance modes, when you look at them on a 4K TV and they're running at 1080, causes a bit of granulation on detail, but this is very good. I didn't feel remotely disgruntled that this was something I was stuck with. As we get through the video, you're going to see that performance mode is probably the way forward, full stop, because the boss fights, some of the lighting and just sheer amount of particles in air and stuff happening everywhere, multiple additional enemies, the game just kept up with everything all the time. These ape dudes are 100% a Sekiro reference confirmed. these bears are 100% an Elden Ring reference. Elden Ring reference confirmed. I'll stop doing it now. Notice I'm using dual-wielded weapons. Now, at this point in the game, I did keep all of the reviews away from my prying eyes before getting into this, so I wasn't really aware of the setup with the weapons, and part of me is thinking, oh my god, is this the one weapon for the whole game? Stellar Blade does it. You just upgrade huge moveset arms and end up behaving differently depending on what you want to pump in. I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting used to the idea. I'm like, okay, these things are damn cool. The parry is beautiful and the window is just generous enough that you don't feel patronized. The same thing goes with that dodge. You get that lovely silhouette. It feels very Black Myth. I'm also thinking at this point, blimey, look at that snow, this dude's awesome, they get height on the jumps, the camera works surprisingly well, and it is smooth as butter just the whole time, reliably stays at those 60 frames per second. Now this is like 2% of what's coming up, because the boss fights, I would say, are this game's major seller. That between level stuff is okay in front end game. I can see how people don't enjoy it that much. It's only when it gets a little bit more taxing, for me, is when it becomes more interesting. But as a first sort of official boss, the Ice Ape is pretty fun. You are then awarded range after slaughtering the glacial gorilla. Your bullets are kind of those yellow things, and they're earned from dealing damage and attacking. So there's technically no ammo. You can just keep plucking off and building up that meter. It did feel like the final slice of the cake for the gameplay model, quite natural. You don't always want to be using it, but it's particularly handy for getting enemies' attention or working on something from a distance before you go in and deliver the goods. Then I'm like, what the hell is this? What's this? Another weapon? Yeah, it's a great sword, bro. Completely different moveset, weighty, damage dealing, and we'll also find in different variants of the twin blades, and of course the newly acquired greatsword. Dang, I was in heaven. I was just craving something like that. I was just thinking there's no way it's going to keep with that axe and short sword, and sure enough, whole new gameplay model. I actually didn't prefer it because of something else that comes up. Yes, there are 3 damned main weapons to choose from. Points are awarded for weapon usage, full stop. This is separate to your soul system and upgrading. They all have their own tree that's split up into 3 sections, and all of it can be reset and rejigged at any point. So you can full-blown explore, and yes, that is a glaive. My god, Monster Hunter, you just got rivaled for top amazing weapons in a third-person RPG. So what is that day-to-day all about? What is it like between bosses, exploring and looking around the levels? They're not massive, they're certainly not open world by any stretch, and the lack of traversal with jumping, you can't even climb up a ledge, means that you sort of funnel down certain areas, but it's nice, it takes that weight off. You just concentrate on enemy encounters, looking as badass as possible, timing that beautiful parry, getting out of the way, countering, and building and getting skill points to then change the whole method of your attack with your selected weapon. We haven't been introduced to the Dark Lord dude that's kind of breathing down your neck the whole game, and there is more power to come in that direction. You get partnered up with an evil demon. It's pretty amazing, but the fight to win him over in the first place is where the game suddenly starts super flexing. I shit you not.
Submit to us. Why fight the inevitable?
When that Red Eye of Sauron thing came up, I was like, oh my god, I am certainly playing a 9th generation third-person RPG. That does remind me, this is on Xbox, Sony, and of course the Steam PC side. And we don't really have any more gameplay changes or surprises revealed. There is a rudimentary hub and a sort of questing system. There's a side mission that allows you to then open up another advocate, is what I think they're called, and then you can switch those out, and they also complement what weapon and armor you've got equipped. We didn't even have the chat about the armor. There are 4 slots, including a helm, and it all looks pretty damn amazing. Some of the early stuff shows a bit too much leg and midriff for my liking, but things do start turning gothic and dark and medieval and awesome, and switching it all out takes seconds. That is something else, is jostling and changing all of your gear and equipment you can do on the fly at any point, at any time in the game. That also goes for the spending the skill points. A lot of Souls-likes or ARPGs in this direction will make you do that at the bonfires. But this is like, no, you want to change things up immediately? Go for it. These between boss sections also come with their fair share of variety. There are some beefier individual enemies out there, and there are also elite enemies which will drop some pretty cool stuff, and that's another pull for me, so I'm genuinely interested in getting a shiny to see if it's a cool piece of armor, or even better, a different weapon. It does also do quite well on the environmental change. The snow in the early areas makes the game very recognizable. This is some of the footage that I would have seen on the trailers, but it soon also takes a twist, takes you down some mines, which you believe, and we do see some nice outside well lit areas. Some of you may have watched that Wu Chang review. That game is indoors and extremely dark a lot of the time. Black Myth, Wukong and Stellar Blade I would say are on par with Kazan when it comes to cool looking external environment variety. Oh, we got ourselves our first classic door opening. Guz, I will always imagine you opening your fridge like this from that day forward. Our first major aesthetic change is what I call the Lizard Temple. If you're a Warhammer fan, let's just call them lizard men, let's just do it. Talking about it being nice and bright and light, this one takes you right down into the classic dungeony style OG Dark Souls. Now, talking of setups, I want to just talk about the combat and some of its unique angles with dealing damage. You have got the classic stamina purple bar underneath the red health, which you can barely see sometimes. Once that's knocked down, which is done easier with a heavier move, fucking hell, they are exposed to a frontal, back or side stab. It's just a nice big damage dealer, but the cool thing is the dot is a red ring and that will run out. You have a window to deal damage and then get that kill animation in, and you are immune whilst doing it, and it also shrinks the gap between you and the enemy quite massively. It's very handy and it looks extremely flashy. It is good to be able to knock something down on a stamina level and then get that window. Armor Core 6 is one of the few that really executes that idea incredibly well. At this point, I was starting to feel a little bit OP. None of the bosses have really stopped me in my tracks, and I'm sort of bulldozing through the Lizardmen Temple. But I think that's giving you a deliberate false sense of security, because coming up now is one of the tougher bosses that also supplies you with a helper, which was quite gobsmacking. And I've always thought, let's just have a go without the helper dude, but that normally goes out the window after the 5th, 6th attempt. But they are not overly useful, let's just say that. And this was one of the only statue turning puzzles I came across in the front end. Very happy with the massive lack of puzzles. It sort of makes up for it with loads of shortcuts and loads of interesting areas to link up to other ones. There's multiple bonfires in most of the levels. Oh yeah, and it loves a cheeky trick. Okay, let's have a look at one of the most exhilarating boss fights I've had this year on my PlayStation 5. This one, and it is phase 2 of the guy, is pretty unbelievable because the way they use the lighting, you have to keep locked on the dude and he comes out of nowhere. The spark work, the bright particles, the animation, the design of the dude himself, your badassery, and the confidence you've got because you're so beefed up by this stage. Kazan, the last Berserker, knows exactly what it's doing, and it's doing it really well. At this point, it did cross my mind that I should be playing this in quality mode to sort of see if there's any effects, any RT going on, that sort of thing. And I really want to hear back from PS5 Pro owners or anybody that's got to see this game above 60 frames per second. I did also fail to mention that this game is actually from an already established universe. It's set 800 years before Dungeon Fighter Online. So again, I want to hear from anybody who's got experience with that IP to let me know how much of that lore is actually in here. That in turn got me thinking if this was a similar situation to Shift Up, where the CEO made all the money off that mobile game Nikkei and then pushed it towards his sort of dream project, which took the form of Stellar Blade. This game is also completely offline with no co-op elements whatsoever. Now that one is a bit baffling because you can still not pause it, but as a consolation I suppose you do get remnants of revenants in the ground. So this is like Nier 1 and 2 where you can fight some random entity for a bit of reward, bit of XP. I didn't think they were tough enough, to be honest with you. They should rank them. I think I may have also ground a bit too hard and rocked up in some areas a bit overpowered. That becomes apparent with the spider level and a lot of the additionals within that. But thank God I was, because Jesus, that is a living nightmare for an arachnophobic. Brackets, just face the fear. The game is quite good with variety on the environment and the enemy front. Just as you're thinking, damn, I wish I could get out of here. Oh no, not another one of them. Oh, it's a variant of one of those previous dudes. It completely switches things up. I did love this sort of village outside port area. It almost gave me Lords of Shadow vibes. That 7th gen Castlevania. These guys need to get that contract. They need to remake Castlevania Lords of Shadow. My God, that game has got one of the best soundtracks in it in a Castlevania game, full stop. I know that might ruffle some feathers, but here's some of that sort of fast track minute to minute between boss gameplay. It flows. I like it. There are destructibles around. It is worth looking at everything in case you find something badass before you face that boss. And nowhere have I seen such fertile graphics in a performance mode and such flawless camera work. It is so smooth and fast, and the focus on the enemy is so crisp, you feel incredibly confident. And I kept thinking to myself, wow, this is not something I've seen done so well on a 9th gen machine, particularly a base level one. Can't believe I'm saying that already. Here's your concrete Souls-like evidence. Yes, we do have a killer boulder rolling down a hill. That was the Raiders reference at the beginning as well, honest. On the Souls front, it actually is quite harsh in one particular direction, and that is falling off a ledge, which I know is quite incredible for a game without a jump on it, but it puts you back to the last bonfire. Now, Wu Chang and a lot of the others will just take a bit of your health and put you back on the ledge you fell off. So watch out for that one, and it's also quite dangerous because you can dodge back straight off a ledge or vice versa into the abyss. And if you haven't sat at a bonfire for a while, that one will make you burst into tears, dependent on how stressed in life you are at the time. We also get a guest monster. This is the demigod reindeer from the film The Ritual, Netflix exclusive, worth a watch. This is really a lesson in how to deal with blights. You've got to be ready to get burnt to a crisp, have all sorts of flasks and resistant rings on you, because this guy just starts a barbecue underneath your feet for the latter part of the fight. And yes, the guest helper went down sharpish. They have never been there for the end of the fight for me so far. Hang on a minute, what is this? A woman! A woman turns up!
I just wanted to thank you for saving me. I owe you my life.
I have also got the Western language on. Yeah, I was okay with it. It didn't annoy me too much. That's mainly because there's barely any dialogue. This is not a Stellar Blade situation. There's few cutscenes. I like that. That's another Souls direction, is just keep the padding and blabbing down to a minimum, but it does put you on a very thin wooden beam, as mentioned earlier. The bats flying at you, that's a mean trick. And talking of bats, this guy's reoccurring, always on this mantle. You can slide straight off if you're not concentrating on your dodge. So much fun having to deal with him every time. So I thought, do the classic run past. And this brings me to my reference at the start about the game handling multiple additional status effects, all manner of stuff flying around in the air. It's impeccably good on performance. It's at this point in the game that you open up R1 and its face button, so you can now allocate a really flashy special of each weapon uniquely onto that moveset. There's a slot of 3, 2 open up pretty early, and they're amazing to be able to make that choice and instigate, because they do not cost stamina, so they are kind of get out of the jail cards. And all of this stuff I'm talking about, the big parry window, the big dodge window, the flashy moves, the game doesn't mind if you make a mistake or two. It wants you to have a damn good time. This sort of stuff pushes it away from the traditional Souls model, I'll give you that. When you look at something like Wu Chang, Fallen Feathers, or the Lies of P, you realise that they are thoroughbred when it comes to that rigid idea of a Souls-like. I would put Black Myth and Stellar Blade in the relaxed category also. But this has the angle of loot and improvement on weapons and switching out weapons. Wukong barely drops anything. An outfit change is like a massive treat. Goddamn, fighting these spiders is fun, and it does not hold back on pushing additionals into the fight. If you start running around, things will pop out of chrysalises. When the timing of everything lands and you feel at home with the moveset, it really does come into its own. And combined with that extremely large loot roster and switching out the advocacies along with the 3 different weapon types, this is kind of something else. But the main point being its impeccable performance and visuals. You would not have seen anything like this, trust me on that. This elite dude, he kind of pushed me. It's not even a boss, and you know, it's the loot that they could potentially drop that makes you fight them and not just run round and go straight to the next window. The visual variation on the weapons also is amazing. I found some dual swords that look like something Nightmare from Soul Calibur would wield. Where would I put this game if I had to rank those 4 mentioned? Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade, Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, and of course Kazan, the last Berserker. That's a really tough one and may even be worth a video. Personally, Kazan is really close to the top because it's right on the nail of what I want. That Souls model, but with relaxed hack and slash E like arcade combat. There's a few more of them coming up, I think. And the hack and slash genre, barring Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition PS5, I will link the review, kind of didn't really have any massive new titles in it, so this one's very welcome. So thoroughly impressed all round. I had to look at the most recent patch notes. There's nothing really that this game needs fixing on, unless there's some endgame material that I'm not aware of, so we don't need to reissue another video after some changes. That is not the case with Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. My name was, of course, Couch Coop. Stay tuned. We've got Gears Reloaded on the PS5 coming up on Wednesday if all goes to plan. And thank you if you found me from the Silksong review. That is also going to get rolled out on the PlayStation 5 very soon. I will, of course, see you all down there.
A British tar is a soaring soul, as free as a mountain bird. His energetic fist should be ready to resist a dictatorial word. Sing, Wolf, sing.